Welcome back to Consider This. I'm Sharaad Kuttan with Tan Sri Abdul Rashid, Abdul Rahman, who is the chairperson of the Election Reform Committee. Very important committee that's going to help us lead the conversation, at least, in terms of reforms of the electoral system. Very quickly, are you thinking merely of going to Parliament with these proposals when it comes to the time, or is there going to be, as has happened in many countries, including New Zealand that you mentioned earlier, they've actually gone to the people. It was a referendum that allowed for electoral reform change.
Yes, in most of the Commonwealth countries, they do have laws on referendum. Whatever change in the laws or whatever new things are to be introduced in the country that affects the people generally, they will go down to the people in the form of referendum. But we don't have a law on referendum here. And therefore, in exchange for that, we go down to the people in the form of libat urus, what you call it, engagement, public engagement. And we have done that all over the country, and we receive good support from all around.
Okay, I want to ask a little bit about Sabah and Sarawak now, because they are also very specific to the way in which Malaysia operates. I mean, 3 territories that came together, well, actually 4 territories that came together in 1963, and then we've left with 3 now that form Malaysia. And there's a very strong states' rights-based politics happening in Sabah and Sarawak now. Now, any reform that diminishes the representation of Sabah and Sarawak, I imagine, will meet with stiff opposition from representatives on that side of the country. How do you propose to make the system fair, but also ensure Sabah and Sarawak representation, a fixed representation in the Federal Assembly?
Well, we cannot have different rules for different units. We have got 3 units in the Federation: Sabah, Sarawak, and the Semenanjung, Malaysia. When we have the Malaysia Agreement, it has been suggested that there should be equal representation, equal number of seats allocated to each of the units, which means if we have 2 seats, and each unit is to share the 2, they will be getting around 70 seats each. But in terms of eligibility, you talk about the law, the rules that have been set for delimitation. The first condition is they must have enough voters in order to earn seats. And now we divide our seats according to number of voters that are available. That is a common rule. That is what the Constitution provides.
Right. But so this would be the one man, one vote principle, that all constituents should be roughly about the same size. I mean, there is some given. In fact, it's given a little too much over time. But that would be the principle, wouldn't it?
We didn't stick so much to that rule, one man one vote. If we do that, then there will be no seat for the rural people, not much seat for the rural people. But we still consider one man one vote principle as a good principle in terms of voting. But then we have problem in allocating more seats than what it has today for Sabah, and what they have today for Sabah and Sarawak, because of the number of constituents, number of electors that they have in the country.
Right.
We were hoping
Sabah and Sarawak are actually overrepresented. Would be the argument?
That is
Pahang is overrepresented, Selangor is underrepresented.
that is the argument that they have today. But a lot of political decisions will have to be made. Now, if the country feels that Sabah and Sarawak should get more to comply with what has been promised under the
Agreement.
Malaysia agreement, then I think we should find ways to comply, irrespective of what our rules are set. Rules are set for determining delimitation of constituencies. But as far as we are concerned, we have no mandate to really do something that is different. We have to have a common law for all.
Right. Tan Sri, in the remaining minutes that we have, you know, many people are impatient for change in the new Malaysia. Is it good to rush into a wholesale change of the system? Do you, how do you imagine change actually happening in Malaysia in the kind of midterm period? Should we rush? Should we do it very slowly, gradually? What's your thoughts?
It depends on what change people are asking for. You know, I don't think a change in this is something that has been going to be rushed through. Now, we have been waiting for this for a long time now. I've been asking for a change for a long time in our system. What people don't really appreciate is there has been, we have been having a legal system, a legal electoral system. Our laws are so bad that it does not contain really the important elements that should be there in an electoral practice. If you talk about democracy in election, then we should have our electoral laws changed completely without having to think about rushing through or what. This is what is required by the country. We have grown over the years. You know, we are now a democracy that has to be pushed up to the level, to the standard that our developed friends outside had already achieved, and that is what we are trying to achieve here: a standard that is comparable to what they have achieved. And I think it is fair if we introduce that standard in our election.
Right, wonderful. So we look forward to the interim report coming out in December, and then the final report out next year before August, right? That would be the limit of your term, 2 years.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tan Sri, for being on the show.
Thank you.
I've had Tan Sri Abdul Rashid Abdul Rahman, Chairperson of the Electoral Reform Committee, with me this evening. That's all we have for you on Consider This. I'm Sharaad Kuttan, only for Astro AWANI.